Good morning, everyone. Thank you, sir, for very kind and almost embarrassing introduction. I am a very small man, and I hardly think that people should be following me because there are so many people doing so wonderful work in the field of diabetes and obesity, and I am still very much in the learning phase. So I don't think I qualify to be called as a legend or anything. I would also like to thank Dr. Ashutosh Mishra for a very kind invitation for this Cardiacon, for which it's my first experience, and I feel this is a brilliant meeting. I was listening to previous two presentations, and especially the presentation by Dr. Ripan Gupta was kind of eye opener for me. We all are working in very narrow fields now. When we got trained, we were trained as internists, and then our vision became from 360 degrees to 180 degrees to now it has become almost 20 degrees, and we have a tubular vision. So if I'm working in diabetes, I don't know what is happening in the technologies in cardiology. And it was wonderful to listen to Dr. Ripan Gupta how things have changed. I could never imagine that something like optical coherence could be used for evaluating lesions in the coronary arteries and it's making decisions. So that's how the things are moving. But after such a brilliant presentation, I'll take you back to a concept presentation, which is diversity, which I'm going to talk. As Sir just mentioned, that I'm touching upon the very broad spectrum of adiposity-based chronic diseases, which is called now popularly ABCD. And this was a concept, mooted by AACE in 2018 by Jeffrey Mechanic. Uh, Actually, it makes a lot of sense, and that is why I thought I'll discuss this concept. We see obesity and diabetes together in most of our patients day-to-day basis, but we somehow fail to recognize obesity as an important component of the disease, and that's what I'm going to try here in my presentation. Can I share my screen now?
Go ahead, sir.
And I hope I am audible easily.
Sir.
So, as already mentioned, that I'm going to speak on obesity, and I will try to do it in next 25 minutes or so. I do not have any disclosures for this presentation. Uh, what is diabesity? Basically, diabesity is a concurrence or coexistence of type 2 diabetes and obesity. And we know there is a strong link between diabetes and obesity. Obesity leads to insulin resistance, development of blood sugar, higher insulin levels, which in turn leads to increased fat deposition, so on. So there is a very strong association between two. This term was first coined way back in 1973. Still, 40 years, 50 years down the line, we still do not give enough emphasis to obesity as an important factor in diabetes management. Uh, we know the two are linked by various pathophysiological mechanisms, and I will discuss the same during the course of my presentation. And just to, you know, uh, highlight the importance, every 1 kilogram increase in body weight leads to 4.5% increase in the risk of diabetes. So, if we look at diversity, now actually it is a modern epidemic. We always talk of epidemic of diabetes, we always talk of epidemic, we rarely actually talk of epidemic of obesity. But actually it is a concurrent epidemic of type 2 diabetes and obesity, and this is likely to be the biggest epidemic in the human history, which needs to be, given due importance, which is not being done till now. So in this presentation, what I'm going to try is to highlight the magnitude of the problem and look at what is causing this epidemic of diabetes, whether it is genetics or it is the environmental factors or it is something else also. I am not going to focus on discussion of on managing diabetes, because we all are, managing diabetes now, and we all are seeing the importance of newer drugs which also either are weight neutral or help weight loss. But managing obesity separately and managing diabetes is actually a full chapter in its own. So I would refrain from talking on that. So if you look at the data from global burden of disease studies, we we are very clear that there is increasing prevalence of obesity or overweight across the globe, whether it is developed countries or developing countries, and it is affecting both the genders. The WHO, gave the global estimates in 2016 and clearly showed that over last 40 years, there has been a 3 times increase in the prevalence of overweight and obesity. Almost 40% of the adults worldwide are overweight, and almost 13% of the whole adult population of the world is currently obese. If we look at the increase in prevalence of obesity in children, it is even more, uh, mm, mm, significant, and there is almost 4.5% times increase in the prevalence of obesity and adults in children over last 40 years. In India, the situation is no better. We have a dual, epidemic of undernutrition as well as obesity. The numbers of undernourished people are decreasing and the number of obese and overweight people are increasing. And we have currently 1 in 5 adults who are overweight or obese. As far as the childhood obesity is concerned, we are only second to China now. We have already overtaken United States in terms of numbers of obese children. And if we look at the rate of increase, the overweight adults have increased almost doubled in last 10 years, which is a phenomenal increase in numbers. So if we compare with the undernutrition or the malnutrition, we have always been considered as a poor country with a lot of undernourished people. But if you look at the numbers now, the numbers of obese are as high as are the undernourished. And there is a typical distribution currently which is being seen, that the states in north and south are more affluent and have a higher prevalence of obesity, while in the central India, there are more of underdeveloped states and there is lesser prevalence of obesity and higher prevalence of undernutrition. Now, what is causing obesity? Is it the genetic factors or it is the environmental factors, which are diet, physical inactivity, and changes in the socio-cultural environment and behavior and so on? So let us see, broadly, which could be more important. Now we know that genetic factors do not change over few years. They take, centuries and thousands of years for the genetics to change. But if you look at the prevalence of obesity, it is increased very remarkably over last 4 decades. So it is very likely that the environmental factors have changed, which has led to increase in the prevalence of obesity to the tune that it has become an epidemic. Now, if you look at the data from genome-wide association studies, this is the publications from 2007 to 9. At that point of time, we had almost 40 genes which were identified, which were associated with diabetes and obesity. And most of these genes were likely to be associated with beta cell dysfunction, and fewer had a correlation with insulin resistance. Now, important thing was all these genes could predict only about 5% of the obesity link and 15% of diabetes acceleration. So this low predictive power possibly reflects that there is a higher importance of environmental factors. There are less frequent genetic variants with stronger effects, which we are yet to identify. And if you look at other factors, possibly there is gene environment or gene or epigenetic interactions that are not readily identified through the methods that we are using for looking at gene-wise associations. Further down the line in 2016-17, the studies showed that there are almost 300 single nucleotide polymorphisms, so-called ASNPs, which may be associated with BMI or waist to hip ratio. However, their role is not clear. Now, another possibility is that if you look at the data from gene environment interactions or lifestyle interactions, there is a possibility that increasingly obesogenic environment possibly is amplifying the risk which is predisposed by genetic predisposition. Now, though we cannot do anything about this, still those who are at high risk for developing obesity because of genetic predisposition, they can still mitigate this risk by increasing physical activity and avoiding specific dietary components, which is very important to keep in mind because genetics is something which is beyond our control as on date, though there is a lot being worked on genetics also. But even in presence of bad genetics, if we focus on improvement in the environmental influences, we can still mitigate the risk posed by the genetic factors. Now let us see link between malnutrition and diabetes. Now when we say malnutrition, actually the term means inappropriate nutrition, which includes undernutrition and overnutrition. Now, we know that overnutrition is causing obesity and diabetes, but is there a link between undernutrition and diabetes also? So we have very clearly documented, malnutrition modulated diabetes, which uh, basically has been very well documented from, Odisha and some other parts of country. And in these patients, the clinical picture is very similar to type 1 diabetes, and this diabetes develops on the background of chronic malnutrition from childhood. And despite severe hyperglycemia, these people never get, ketosis or ketonuria. So possibly there is a chronic or ongoing nutrition insult, which leads to changes in the, beta cell function, expose them to a long period of nutritional deficit, leading to reduced volume of beta cell and reduced function. And some acute insults intermittently further, decrease this functional and function mass of beta cell, leading to development of significant hyperglycemia. Also, possibly these insults predispose the beta cell to more influences from genetic, detrimental factors or the viral infections or dietary toxins and so on, which would be responsible for development of diabetes. And this has been, supported by experimental studies in adult mice where they were exposed to protein malnutrition, protein restricted diet followed by high fat diet. And once that was done, these adult mice developed hyperglycemia. So possibly there is, protein malnutrition is kind of programming these beta cells to impact on mitochondrial dysfunction and amplifying the pathways of insulin deficiency when they are exposed to uh, overnutrition subsequently. Now, coming to overnutrition in diabetes or diabesity, we know that the fundamental cause for development of obesity or overweight is an imbalance between the calories consumed and the calories expenditure. And if you look at data from various studies, there is clear documentation that globally there has been increased intake of energy dense foods which are high in fat, and there has been decrease in physical activity, or in fact there is increase in physical inactivity due to increasingly sedentary nature of many forms of work, changes in mode of transportation, increased urbanization, decreased movement, and so on. And if you look at the prevalence of obesity, there is a significant increase in prevalence of obesity from about 5% way back in 1992 to almost 50% in some of the states currently. And as I showed you, 1 in 5 adults in India are currently overweight or obese. Now, if we look at the food consumption patterns, as the incomes have grown, there has been increase in the consumption of cereals as well as high fat foods, milk products, and higher consumption of vegetables. So there is overall increase in the consumption of foods, though this has not been markedly increased in the consumption of cereals and pulses, but there is significant increase in the consumption of fats. And various studies over almost last 5 decades, 4 decades have shown that if you look at the total consumption of energy, there has been small increase in the energy consumption in the lower class, both in lower socio-economic class, both in rural and urban population, while there is hardly any increase or slight decrease in the energy consumption patterns in the middle and upper middle class. So if there is, despite the reduction in the energy intake, there is increase in obesity or overnutrition. Possibly it is the environmental factors or increased physical inactivity which are crucial in driving this epidemic of diabetes. Now, studies have further shown that there has been a small decrease in protein consumption both in urban and rural population over 4 decades. On the other hand, there has been significant increase in the fat consumption. Now, another important thing to note is that if you look at the total monthly per capita expenditure on food, it has not increased significantly. While if you look at the non-food expenditure, it has increased by almost 2.5 times. And this major increase has been on expenditure on conveyance, other consumer services, and entertainment. And if you look at the per capita mean per capita monthly per capita expenditure on TV connections, petrol, and transportation, it has increased by almost 3 times in last 4 decades. So, what is causing obesity in India? Fundamentally, there is energy imbalance between calories consumed and calories expended. An increase in energy index in energy dense foods in terms of increased intake of fat is there, which is documented, and there is definite increase in the physical inactivity due to availability of many forms of transportation, increase in TV time, and increased urbanization, and so on. So obesity prevalence is rapidly rising in India due to increased physical inactivity and imbalanced foods. We also know that Asian Indians have more body fat, more intra-abdominal and truncal subcutaneous fat, and low muscle mass as compared to white population, and that is why we are at a higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. And also we get more morbidities at lower levels of BMI and waist circumference as compared to Western population. Now let us see what is the link between diabetes and obesity and what makes it uh, develop as diabetes. So whenever we look at obese individual, we are reminded of a number of complications that obesity can predispose to, especially increase in risk of coronary artery disease, diabetes, and increase in risk of some cancers. So if you look at obesity, obesity is possibly mother of all important diseases of adult life, but it is the association with type 2 diabetes that is most remarkable. This is data from Nurses Health study, which clearly showed that if you compare, people with BMI less than 22, there is a significant increase in risk of developing diabetes, hypertension, coronary artery disease. But if you look at the risk of diabetes, this is highest. And this slide shows basically increasing prevalence of obesity across North America over 2 decades. Now, if you look at this lower part of the slide, it is parallel by increase in the prevalence of diabetes in the same states across North America. So whenever there is increasing prevalence of obesity, there is increasing prevalence of diabetes, and this has been reported from other countries. This is data from Australia, and if you look at the NCD Risk Alliance, again, worldwide, whatever countries there has been increase in the prevalence of obesity, it is paralleled by increase in the risk of developing diabetes. So there is a strong established relationship between diabetes and obesity, especially with the central obesity, and this is supported by numerous studies. And this frequent co-occurrence actually led to the coining of the term diabetes way back in 1973. And I have shown you that as there is increased risk of increasing prevalence of obesity in any population, it is parallel by increasing the prevalence of diabetes. Now, studies have shown that almost 90% of type 2 diabetes have BMI more than 23, which is the normal cutoff for weight in Indian population, and obesity accounts for almost 75% of type 2 diabetes population. This is a small study that we presented in RSSDI way back in 2011, and this was 660 patients from our own patient cohort, and we documented that almost 80% of the people had a BMI more than 23 this is way back in 2011, and almost 80% had an increased waist circumference, so showing that 70 to 80% of patients with diabetes are overweight or obese. Unfortunately, we don't still look at obesity as one of the important factors. in these patients. This is data from Nurses Health study, which again showed that there is a continuous and direct correlation between BMI and type 2 diabetes. And if we compare women with BMI less than 22, if the BMI goes above 25, then the risk of diabetes goes up 5 times. If it goes above 32, the risk goes up 28 times. And if it goes above 35, the risk goes up 58 times. And if you look at this graph, there is increase in prevalence of diabetes as we go above the BMI cutoff of 24 or 25. This is Western population. And if you look at the data from Indian population, the risk of diabetes develops both in males and females over the BMI of 23, and the risk doubles over a waist circumference of 80 centimeters in females and 90 centimeters in males uh, for diabetes by 2 to 3 times. So that is why we have lower cutoffs for obesity and waist circumference in Indian population. In fact, 2001, this was a paper published by Arnie Astrup and Nick Feiner, which suggested that we should try to, we should change the terminology and we should label diabetes as diabesity, because there is a strong evidence that type 2 diabetes is a disease of fatness. And since type 2 diabetes is obesity dependent and obesity is the main etiological cause of type 2 diabetes, it may be termed as diabesity or obesity dependent diabetes mellitus. So this was not finally taken up, but this was a suggestion way back in 2007. Now, what is causing this metabolic state? To understand this, we have to understand how the fat is stored normally. So once there is excess energy, it is largely stored as triglycerides in white adipocyte tissue, and these triglycerides are utilized whenever there is need for excess energy, when there is exercise or starvation. Now, white adipose tissue can store this triglyceride by increasing the number of cells or increasing the size of adipocytes. Once there is increase in the size of adipocytes, this increased storage of fat leads to compression or increased pressure within the adipocytes, making them inflamed and leading to increased turnover of free fatty acids and adipocytokines. So once there is excess, calorie intake, these cells become large, inflamed, and they lead to development of insulin resistance. There are some individuals who become obese. However, they have higher number of adipocytes, and they do not expand their adipocytes, so there is no inflammation, and they still remain free of the metabolic complications. Now, possibly there are three distinct mechanisms which have been proposed to be linked between obesity and development of insulin resistance and beta cell dysfunction. First one is that there is increased production of adipocytokines, including TNF alpha, IL-6 resistance, and RBP4, which are involved in the causation of insulin resistance. Second, once there is increased free fatty acid turnover, there is increased fat deposition in the ectopic organs, especially liver, muscle, and pancreas, which leads to dysmetabolic sequelae. And third is the mitochondrial dysfunction, which is evident by decreased mitochondrial mass and increased production of ROS or free radicals, which leads both to development of insulin resistance as well as beta cell dysfunction. So there is a possibility that both obesity and type 2 diabetes share a common underlying defect, and both these defects favor both development of weight gain, insulin resistance, and beta cell dysfunction. One potential link could be that once the cells are exposed to a constant nutrient over exposure or excess supply of nutrients, they have bad effects of excessive nutrients on the cellular metabolism, leading to inflammatory, increased inflammatory signaling, increased endoplasmic reticular stress, increased production of free radicals, mitochondrial dysfunction, decreased mitochondrial mass, increased production of triglycerides and fatty acid intermediates. This sets a cascade of, detrimental metabolic pathways leading to development of insulin resistance and beta cell dysfunction. Now, are there factors beyond genetics and environmental factors? So it is proposed that, we know that the co-colonization concept, that changes in lifestyle from rural or traditional to modern Western lifestyle have caused the epidemic of obesity and diabetes. And there is a strong data suggesting that we should consider epigenetics as one of the important factors. So David Parker was the first who proposed that in utero metabolic adaptations define the trajectory of growth, which prepares the fetus for likely adult environment. And this, now, what happens in utero to the fetus is dependent on parental behavior before pregnancy and mother's behavior during pregnancy. So if we look at the data from Dutch winter famine, there was after the Second World War, the Holland was occupied by Nazis, and the women who became pregnant during that time had very poor diets, and the offsprings who were born to these women 30 years later, when they were followed up, they had a very high incidence of diabetes, obesity, and hypertension. So, and now we have data of, a follow-up of Chinese famine, which happened in 1960, around 1960. So if you look at the Chinese diabetes prevalence till 80, there was virtually no diabetes or minimal diabetes in 80s. And 40 years down the line, China is the, top population with diabetes worldwide. So possibly the famine or the effect on famine on these children in intrauterine undernutrition exposed them to prepare for a famine during the adult life. But when these children were born and they were not exposed to famine, but exposed to abundance of calories and decreased physical activity or so-called obesogenic environment, they actually accumulated more calories and became fat or obese. So undernutrition during pregnancy actually led to adaptation for the fetus in the fetus to expect more scarce resources when they were born and when they grew up. But this expectation was not met, and they were instead exposed to obesogenic environment, and they developed diabetes, obesity, and cardiovascular disease. So these are various epigenetic factors which can influence pregnancy and predispose children to become fat during the later diet. So to sum up what I have discussed, there is very little evidence in terms of genetic factors causing the increasing the risk of diabetes and obesity or leading to this diabetes epidemic just now. But there is more evidence favoring lifestyle factors and epigenetic factors, and there is definitely evidence for fetal programming, and all these lead to increase in the fat accumulation in the adipose tissue and setting up adipocyte inflammation on one hand, beta cell dysfunction on other hand, and insulin resistance, and all these ultimately lead to increased prevalence of obesity, diabetes, or the epidemic of diabetes. So what is driving the diabetes epidemic? There is genetic predisposition possibly, but more importantly, there is epigenetic programming, and there is increased availability of food and decrease in physical activity, which is driving this epidemic of diabetes. With this, I conclude my presentation, and I'll be actually happy to take if there are any questions.